Hello and welcome to this video lecture for the University of Connecticut's online course, Classics and Ancient Mediterranean Studies 1103, Classical Mythology. I'm Roger Travis, Associate Professor of Classics at the University of Connecticut, and whether you're enrolled in this course or not, I hope you enjoy the lecture and learn something about new ways of looking at classics and at myth. Thanks for watching.
This stuff about being a true man, about being an Andra, relates pretty closely to another feature of the Odyssey that I want you to think about now, just as you're starting it, and that is the role of the gods in the Odyssey. We see the gods in Book 1 of the Odyssey very early on. In fact, right after the introduction, we go to the Council of the Gods where Zeus and Athena are talking about Odysseus. And one of the things they say there, Zeus does, is, "For shame, how can mortals think that we are in control of their actions?" And that introduces something that's going to be very important for understanding what's actually going on in the Odyssey. Because a lot of people, when they're first encountering the Odyssey or the Iliad, tend to think that what's going on is that the gods are in control of the action. And that's not true. What is going on is something that I want to introduce to you as a quote-unquote law. That is, it's a principle that happens, that is maintained in general in the Iliad and the Odyssey, called double determination. And it's almost like a law. That is, it's not obeyed 100% of the time, but it's obeyed so consistently that we should think of it as a kind of law. And that law of double determination is that every important action in Homeric epic has both a divine and a human cause. Now, there's a corollary that I want to add, which is that the human cause is the one that's really important. And this is especially true in the Odyssey, because the Odyssey, as I keep saying, is about a man. It's about human life. And as I keep saying, myth is about us. It's about the time of the people who are telling the stories that we call myths. It's not as much about that time in the mythic past, and it's definitely not as much about some supernatural forces who regular people who are telling the myths, who are listening to the myths, say the audience of the Odyssey originally, they would never have encountered these supernatural forces. That is, they might have believed in them in the sense that they also believed in Odysseus, but they did not believe that the gods were in control of their actions. And what we see in the Odyssey is that whenever anything important happens, it's not the gods who are doing it. The gods are there to provide a kind of grandeur, to provide a kind of divine authorization for the heroism of people like Odysseus and Telemachus. But it is in fact what Odysseus and Telemachus are doing themselves that's of the true importance. And to emphasize that point, I'm going to read from a passage that's just before the passage I read previously, the one about Phemius the bard singing. This is where Athena is leaving Telemachus after having visited him. And here we go. We're on page 35 of the Lattimore translation. We're at line 319 of Book 1. So spoke the goddess grey-eyed Athena, and there she departed like a bird soaring high in the air. But she left in his spirit determination and courage, and he remembered his father even more than he had before, and he guessed the meaning. And his heart was full of wonder, for he thought it was a divinity. At once he went over, a godlike man, to sit with the suitors. Now, the first time you read this, you probably thought, oh, Athena is giving him some sort of supernatural buff, supernatural power, so that now he's become more of a man. But I think when you read it carefully and think about the meaning of the Odyssey, the way that the Odyssey is about this Andra, this man, what you'll see is that, in fact, it was Athena's role as a friend of Odysseus. Remember, she comes down in the form of Mentes. Her role as that friend of Odysseus that caused Telemachus in a purely human way to remember his father. And it was the memory of his father that gave him the determination and courage. And in fact, when he realizes, quote unquote, realizes that it's Athena, and he sees her, quote unquote, fly away, he thinks it's a divinity. But when he thinks it's a divinity, what the bard of Book 1 is actually saying is this kind of memory, this memory that gives determination and courage, this memory of people like Odysseus, are parents, our fathers, like Odysseus. It's this thing which is divine. And it's a perfect way of looking at how double determination works. That is, the human cause is the important one, the memory of the father, that's a purely human thing that we all can identify with. But in the context of an epic, in a story that's grand about a hero like Odysseus, that memory of one's father has something special about it, something that is like a supernatural quality. And so throughout the Odyssey, when we're looking at the actions of the gods, we really need to be thinking in terms of double determination. That is, that the gods are not in control of the action, but instead they're there to make the actions of the humans, well, look epic is one way to put it, look grand is another way to put it, and even to look special and to provide that kind of truth value, Rudy thing that I keep talking about.